Hello everyone, and in this video we are going to be having a little bit of an army showcase. So yeah, as mentioned previously, today we are going to be having a quick look at one of my older armies that I've got painted up. Haven't used it for a little while, but been asked to chuck some army showcases up on the website and on the YouTube channel, so I thought, why not start with Nurgle? Seems like the best place to start with the way things are at the moment. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. So looking at my army here, it's just under 2,000 points, and used to use this army loads, especially when I was playing Age of Sigmar before the Gloomspite Gits came out. So this used to be my go-to army, and I would used to use this army as well in 40k, because if you don't know, a lot of the demon stuff that you can use in Age of Sigmar you can actually also use in 40k, so it's a good way of being able to play both games but without having to buy separate armies. There are some exceptions, so some demon stuff you can't use, some you can, so it's always worth double checking, but it is quite good for that you can just go and pick whatever you want and play in both armies, and it's interesting. So getting started with this army, the first thing I always do when I start an army is to go with what is my general going to be, who is going to be running my army, who is going to be telling everyone what to do. And for me it was a bit of a no-brainer with this army. It had to be a great Unclean one, and I tend to steer clear of named characters just because I like to have a little bit more flexibility with how I build and paint my models. So I just tend to like having a generic looking character that I can say is this character or that character, add my own little narrative to them and provide a bit more individual character to the army that I'm creating. And in this case I have created my great Unclean one, which is fondly known in the Grumpy Pony as Bubbles, and Bubbles has been a great addition to my army, a fantastic model to paint, and actually was really easy to do. I'll say it's a really basic paint job on here. All it was, and it was the same for the rest of this army as well, which was a light undercoat of a white, and then it was a shade over the top, which was a Athonian camo shade, and I just alternated the different shades over everything else in this army just to try and give them a bit of variation in tones and things like that. But this was before the days of contrast paints as well, so a lot of this army was done with shades and light undercoats, so Corax white, Athonian camo shade, that sort of thing. And if I wanted them to be darker or lighter, I would just use a watered down version, or I'd actually go over and do a second layer as well, just to darken them up and to just mix them up a bit, so there wasn't just the same skin tone over them over the whole army. But we've got some, the Nurgle range, it has it's one of those things with Games Workshop that you fail to see a Nurgle army that doesn't look just so unique and so good, so brilliant. When it's all painted and on the table, you've got these tentacles, big characters. I mean, my army misses quite a lot of the newer stuff that's out now, but yeah, you get some really great looking stuff with Nurgle, and you can really go all in using all the technical paints and things like that. So if I go down to my next character, which is Festus, who is an older character, I think he came out well before the great Unclean one that I've got. He was actually an old Warhammer fantasy, so an old world model that I moved over, rebased him, and put him in my new Nurgle army. And he's full of great details. He's force feeding a potion that he's created to some hapless soul who's not reacting very well to it, as you can see in the pictures. And then you go further on to the other characters that I've got. So, and for the record, Nurgle has some of the best named characters and models in the Games Workshop range. They're just so funny. So the named character that I do have in this army is Horticulus Slimax. So he is a gardener of Nurgle. He goes around and plants seeds and spreads Nurgle's garden in the mortal realms. And he has his big snail slug monster that he rides around on. And in some of the audiobooks I've listened to, he comes across as a really cantankerous old gardener that just wants to plant his garden and just be left alone. And these pesky stormcast and things just coming around and bothering him all the time, which I just think is wonderful from his point. It's great to see it from his point of view, that he's just trying to tend to his garden and everyone else is just getting in his way. So really great character, loads of fun to paint that one. And I tried on that one to make it look like his plough thing coming off the back of his snail was actually making furrows into the mud and actually leaving Nurgle's rot behind. So all that green you see on the base, that's just Nurgle's rot. Just absolutely slathered it on as much as I possibly could to make it look like it was really pooling up in those areas. And then, you know, going into after that, we've got things like the Lord of Plagues, the Poxbringer. Again, they were older models, but I just tried to bring them up and update them for Age of Sigmar. I actually chopped the head off the Lord of Plagues and replaced it with I believe that is from a Khorne Lord, and just swapped the heads out. And to do that, it was really easy. I just chopped it off, glued it on, and just to make it look like, you know, even the skin on his face is falling off. So just wanted to make it a little bit different from the other Lord of Plagues that you see. And like I say, it's a really basic paint job, but I think when they're all together on the table, it all looks really nice. And it's what I like to go with, which is a rule I always go by whenever I paint any of these armies, which is 3 foot fabulous. So normally when you're looking at these armies on the table, you're looking at them from a distance. You're not really looking them up close like these pictures are showing. So as long as they look good at 3 foot fabulous, as far as I'm concerned, that's fine. So yeah, I think he's the Lord of Plagues is definitely 3 foot fabulous for me. So I was happy with him. Same again with the Poxbringer. And then the rest of these guys in this army, I just tried to make them as consistent as possible. But we had 2 of the newer releases, which I think go down as some of the best named models. So you've got the Sloppity Bile Piper and the Spoilpox Scrivener. You know, Heralds of Nurgle, keeping tallies of all the plagues and dancing through the streets, spreading their plagues as they go. Absolutely brilliant. Love the story behind them. If you haven't read it, definitely recommend getting hold of a Maggotkin battle tome. And it just goes through there about what they do and just how sort of happy they are to share the gifts of Nurgle to everyone who's unfortunate enough to be around to receive them. They're absolutely brilliant. And with the Spoilpox Scrivener, the big trunk you can see wrapped around him, it's actually his nose, and he does have a sneezing attack where he will sneeze over people and make them ill. And it was just a great little addition there, to just fits with the whole Nurgle theme, and really good fun. There's that little bit of humour in there still, so it's not taking itself too seriously, and just a great addition to any army like those guys. And they do buff. Obviously, they've got their abilities that are really useful to have around, you know, your plaguebearers and your nurglings and things like that. So well worth having in your army, and just having them around your core, just to make things a little bit more punchy. Then moving on to that, we've got the actual units themselves that I've got. So you've got the plaguebearers, which are, you know, what you'd expect from a Nurgle army. They are the infantry, essentially plague zombies, you know, like shambling along the battlefield. They're pretty tough as well, so, you know, they will take a bit of punishment before going down, and they'll be able to dish out a little bit as well. But not as much as the guys coming up next, which is the Blight Kings. The Blight Kings, in my opinion, go down as having one of the best kits that Games Workshop offer, just purely because of the amount of stuff you get in that box. I have seen countless versions of Blight Kings in different armies, and some big units, some small units, but every single Blight King I've seen has been different, just because of the sheer amount of options you get in that box. You can build them any way you want, and if you've got any ability as it goes with any sort of kit bashing or conversion green stuff work, you can really go to town on this unit and make them look really, really fantastic. I just stuck with what I could do out of the box, so I just tried to make them look as interesting as I possibly could. And then after that, we've got the Beast of Nurgle, which again, just their lore behind them. This was back in when I got these, they were part of the new Nurgle releases, and the lore behind them is just they got the life cycle. They had the life cycle of a bloat fly, I think it was, or plague fly. And when the plague flies get killed, they go back to the Garden of Nurgle. And I got it around the wrong way. So when a Beast of Nurgle gets killed, they actually don't really understand why they've been killed, because they have a innocence about them. They're basically like big puppy dogs of Nurgle, and they will charge into battle wanting to play and lick anything they come across just to try and be friendly. But their version of being friendly basically spreads a lot of disease and destruction in their wake, so they end up getting killed. When they do get killed, they become a very bitter seed in the Garden of Nurgle, because they don't really understand why they've been killed. They were just trying to be nice. And when that seed finally grows, it actually turns into a plague fly, which is what some of the other Lords of Plagues actually ride. A very vicious fly that is massive and out for revenge on the settlers of the Mortal Realms, who made the terrible decision to actually kill them, the Beast of Nurgle. So I love the life cycle of the Beast of Nurgle into the plague flies. Really nice little touch, and you just think it really nicely rounds out a sort of fan favourite. I think the Beast of Nurgle, I think a lot of people really love those, and it's good when they released the new models that they fleshed out a little bit of their lore as well, which I just thought was really nice. And then lastly, I just go into the nurglings. So if you've got a Maggotkin army, if you've got a Nurgle army, you need some nurglings. Now I've gone for quite a few, just because I love them. I love the idea of all these little demon guys just sort of scurrying over each other to get to where they want to get to. They're really mischievous. They just cause loads of trouble. Whenever you read any books with nurglings in them, they are sometimes just an irritant. Sometimes they are a real threat. And if in large enough numbers, they will bring even the mightiest lord down. So you've got to watch them, you've got to keep an eye out for them. They are well worth it in any army as well. If you play, if you're looking for something that's just going to jump on an objective and be a real pain to move, then these could be the ones for you. And they've actually been pivotal in creating some of the other characters in the Maggotkin and Nurgle armies. So some of the Maggoth riders, I think one of the Maggoth riders, I think it's Twiceborn, he was actually created after being absolutely surrounded by Nurglings and almost killed by them. So well worth having a look into them, and definitely got to include them in any Nurgle army. But I just thought I'd give a quick overview of my Nurgle army, a little army showcase. So I'm just going to chuck a few more pictures up here. Really hope you enjoy it. And I'm going to be doing some more army showcases soon. So if you are interested, just keep an eye out, and I'll have some more showcases on the way. Thanks very much for listening. Like and subscribe, and I will speak to you all soon. Cheers, guys. Bye.